Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the prelim fights for UFC Fight Night 174, Lewis versus Oleinik. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card and our first fight on the prelims. So in our first fight, we have in the featherweight division, Caceres versus Chikadze. So this one is real cut and dry. So Caceres, a solid fighter, been around the game for a good minute, got a good skill set. Chikadze has been around the kickboxing scene for a while, and I think he's been in the MMA scene for about 2, 3, maybe 4 years. So not the longest time, but yeah, he's been doing pretty well for himself in the UFC. I think he's like 3-0 or something in the UFC, so no losses yet. Even though he still has some very glaring holes in his grappling, and still needs to get more situated in MMA. He's been doing pretty well having those holes in his game, but still improving. Still got those holes, but still improving. We're going against Caceres. Caceres could have a good style for Chikadze, but really, when you all put it all out there, it's really nice. Like, Chikadze has pretty much the advantage in this fight, pretty clear. So, Caceres, if he had a little bit more power in his striking, it wasn't just so it's so unorthodox and, just creative, you could say, or just out there with his striking. And maybe put some more power and setups to his stuff and not just kind of, he does got a good technique and good setup behind it, but it's definitely not the most power-packing strikes. He dropped a couple people. Sometimes he was hurting people with kicks to the body at times, but not consistently a very powerful fighter or a powerful striker or a lot of power in the strike. Usually just touching or usually just points, but not really necessarily the guy that's going to be tagging you up out there or making you really feel the shots. Especially going against Chikadze, who's really literally went against some of the best strikers the world has ever known when he was kickboxing. So the striking definitely going to be much of effect against Chikadze. Then also Caceres has some solid grappling, but he doesn't have the best takedown offense, and also he's not the most physically strong fighter. So I see him having a hard time trying to get it to the ground where he'll have his only advantage. He can have some MMA experience and try to point fight and probably try to find angles and stuff. But on the feet, it's just two different this is a world of a difference between their striking on the feet. So it's not like Caceres can really even try to do anything there. It's not like he's going against some young kid like he did in the last fight, and not trying to take nothing away from the last one. But you're going against a different level of fighter, definitely in the striking aspect. And even when you're fighting that green fighter, you still didn't look as good as you should have looked on the feet against him. But either way, I just feel like Caceres can't take this fight to the ground. And if he takes it to the ground, I think he'll have too much success with him on the ground, and Chikadze will be able to get back to his feet. But I really just see Caceres struggling to get it to the ground and not get into the ground. And I see Chikadze just picking him apart on the feet and putting him away in pretty quickly in this fight. So in this fight, I got Chikadze via first round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the women's strawweight division, Kassem versus Miranda Granger. And this fight is another straight up one right here, even more straight up right here, because I just feel like Kassem is more so just a striker. I think she might have a little bit of grappling, but at this level, she's really just a pure striker, and she's not the best striker at that. Even as a pure striker, she's not the best striker. Miranda Granger, I see a better striker. She's more filled out, more well-rounded in her skill set. I feel like Granger can outstrike her. I feel like Granger could rush her up in the clinch. I feel like Granger could take her down and control her. I really feel like Granger could beat her in any area in this fight. So even Kassem is doing good on feet and looking solid on feet, I feel like Granger could put in the clinch against the cage and wear on her. And I feel like Granger could take it down if she wants to and get points that way. So I really see like I said, I see Granger just winning this fight however she wants to win it. Like I said, if Kassem does look like she's on point in this fight and her striking is really flourishing in this one, I feel like Granger can, like I said, put in the clinch and wear on her, or just take her to the ground and just man over in this fight if she needs to. But either way, Granger just got the more well-rounded fighter and just better in every area than Kassem. So in this fight, I got Miranda Granger via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the bantamweight division, Rivera versus Ali Alqasi. And Rivera came in on short notice and fought Chikadze upper weight class, was shorter, was not as good of a striker at all. Had a little bit of grappling, a little bit of MMA experience over him, because he was been doing MMA longer and all that stuff over Chikadze, but definitely was outmatched by a lot. But he showed heart and toughness in that fight. Got dropped 2 or 3 times in that fight, but got up nonetheless, made it to the decision. Was out there swinging, taking shots, and swinging right back. Might have landed one good punch in that fight, but he was in that fight. And he showed heart and toughness as he's shown in all of his fights. So that's one thing about Rivera. Not the most technically sound fighter. He could be a problem on the feet for some people. Not really necessarily UFC caliber people, but he could be a problem on the feet for some people. He's very tough, got a lot of heart. And some decent grappling, not the best. I don't think the UFC caliber grappling either, but he definitely got UFC caliber heart and toughness. And a lot of UFC fighters, even champions, don't got the same heart and toughness he got. So one thing for him. Definitely not the biggest fighter either. So yeah, that's Aaron Rivera right there. And definitely a high-paced fighter when he's active. Definitely a good cardio fighter as well. So when I look at a lot of his fights, when he fought decent competition outside of UFC, if he fights, he'd be losing. But he just keeps pushing. Like, they start to slow down, and he starts to unload, and he gets them out of there. So that's one thing about Aaron Rivera. I think that's going on kind of backfire against him in the UFC because he's not really fighting these 5-round fights. He's kind of fighting 3-round fights because he's not a champion or fighting championship fights in the UFC. And I doubt he'll ever really will fight championship fights in the UFC or main event fights that will be 5 rounds. So it will be 3 rounds. So that's going to be something against him because he usually likes to, out-grit, out-tough his opponents, and then later rounds put him out there and catch up on him when he's fighting decent competition. But now, Ali Alqasi, let's go to him. Got some power in his hands, okay striking, kind of like what is called very standard level striking, not no advanced at all. Definitely not really UFC caliber striking, but he's one of the fighters that has a Sambo background. Like, I think he's a Sambo world champion. Don't quote me on that, but it's definitely, they mentioned Sambo. Definitely shown very strong, very physical. Got some power in his hands. Like I said, not the most technical striking, but he got a lot of power behind those hands. He's one kind of like old school, like our typical wrestler, like a lot of power in the hands, very fast, very explosive, very athletic. And then they could take you down, and like I said, they got an overhand or a big power, and they're trying to take you down. And that's a style that has had a lot of success over the years in the UFC. When I look at Aaron Rivera, one of the issues with him is that he's too comfortable getting taken down. He'll spend a lot of time on his back. Now you're going against a strong Sambo wrestler, or Sambo grappler, or Sambo fighter, who's going to be more than willing to put you down and hold you down. And also, Alqasi looks for the finish on the ground. That could backfire because I say Rivera's tough, so you're trying to go all out to finish him. You could get burned out. Then in the later rounds, he could come out and finish you. But what I see is Ali Alqasi just throwing those big overhands, get him to react, take him down, controlling him. Then Rivera trying to force his way back to his feet. And might find opportunities to get back to his feet, but when he's back on the feet, it's just him trying to find opportunities or trying to force opportunities or force action. And then, for the little bit of time he's on his feet, then Ali Alqasi just putting him back on the ground. And Aaron Rivera never really have an opportunity to really get his hands going, get his kicks going, get his striking going. And Ali Alqasi just putting a blanket on him and being a big, very heavy brick blanket on him. And Rivera just bends glued to the mat. So in this fight, I got Ali Alqasi via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the featherweight division, Youssef Zalal versus Peter Barrett. And this is probably the most straightforward one on the whole card right here. I looked at Peter Barrett, and what I saw is a fighter that looked like a barroom fighter. And I think they're talking about he had a wrestling background and all this, but every single fight I watch, he's getting him picked up, getting double leg, getting scooped up, getting slammed on the ground within minutes of the fight. So, and his takedown defense looks poor. His striking, he just be winging shots. He kind of got away with some 12 to 6 elbows a couple times in some of these fights. By the way, he looks very sloppy out there. Striking looks sloppy. The wrestling aspect, he's always getting taken down. Now you're going against Youssef Zalal. I think Youssef Zalal, one thing that really worries about me is sometimes he's too composed out there. He's too comfortable just trying to focus on technique and not really initiating action. Sometimes in these fights he'll be too comfortable trying to work with submissions off his back. The fights he lost, they'd be close fights. He'd probably be the one really doing the most damage in those fights. But by the time, by the fact that he lets himself lay on the back, he's on the ground so much trying to work off submissions off his back or through contempt being down there because he feels he's just skilled everywhere. He loses fights that he should have won. But so far in the UFC, he's 2-0. He looks solid. But that's the one issue. In this fight, I don't see that it being an issue because, like I said, Peter Barrett's supposed to have a wrestling background, but every single fight he's in, he's getting destroyed in the grappling aspects. And it's not like he's fighting super phenomenal fighters. He's not. So I really see Zalal as just far superior fighter in technique and skills and every single aspect. He's more athletic, faster, sharper, much cleaner striking, much cleaner grappling. And I just see Youssef Zalal just putting on a clean performance in this one. He might have dealt with the unorthodox and kind of messiness of Peter Barrett's kind of barroom style fighting a little bit. But once he starts to settle it down, he's going to pick apart Peter Barrett. I think he gets him out in the second round. I think he picks apart on his feet and gets a submission in the second round. So in this fight, I got Youssef Zalal via second round submission. Now to our next fight we have in the featherweight division, Gavin Tucker versus Justin Jaynes. So right now, Gavin Tucker is, I think, a decent favorite over Justin Jaynes for whatever reason, I guess, because people still kind of believe in the hype Gavin Tucker had when he first came to UFC. When he first came to UFC, he looked all the part of a very highly touted prospect. I thought he was going to do much more in the UFC. And then he ran into Rick Glenn and was looking good for the first 2-3 minutes. Then he started to slow down and Rick Glenn just beat the mess out of him. Gave him one of the most brutal beatings and the most brutal and one-sided beatings in UFC history. I'm not saying it's top 10, top 20, top 30, but it's probably in the top 60, top 50 right there. But yeah, it's definitely up there. So, looking at this fight, Gavin Tucker has a very slick striking. Definitely has a solid ground game as well. But what really worries me about him in this fight is that he gave up 2 takedowns with like Sung Woo Choi or some Choi like that, and Rick Glenn took him down 4 times. So your takedown defense looks very questionable, and you haven't even really won against a good grappler. You went against some decent fighters. I don't think Sung Woo Choi is the best of fighters, but maybe I'm just underrating him severely, or maybe I'm not, and I don't think I am. And that's not a fight you should be getting taken down 2 or 3 times by, which he did. And he did get a submission over him, but he still got taken down twice, and that's worrisome. You got taken down about 4 times by Rick Glenn. I know you were tired, but you still got taken down 4 times by Rick Glenn. Your wrestling defense should be better than that. No matter if you're tired and you got taken down 4 times by him and beat on him. Now you're going against Justin Jaynes. For some reason, I can see why people slept on him in the first fight, or his first fight in UFC, and I can see why I didn't pick him in the first fight, because the opponent he won against had decent takedown. Yeah, the person he went against had decent takedown. And also Frank Camacho came from a bigger weight class. I think Frank Camacho came in as a welterweight, then dropped down to lightweight. And we look at Justin Jaynes, he actually fought some light heavyweights, some middleweights and stuff at one point. So he's a fighter that came down from a bigger weight class as well, or fought bigger weight class fighters at least at one point as well. So I'll say Frank Camacho's fighter with underrated grappling, underrated wrestling, especially underrated wrestling defense. And I saw a one-dimensional fighter in Justin Jaynes who was just a wrestler. I saw a guy that could defend his takedown and then pick apart him on feet. But what happened was Justin Jaynes started landing that jump hook, and every single time he threw it or jumped to throw it, Frank Camacho would drop that right hand, and he was getting caught by that jump hook, because I guess that he saw something in tape, or maybe it just happened, and it just happened. I mean, it just happened the way, and Justin Jaynes was just feeling that hook, and he kept just throwing it. By the way, he knocked Camacho out in the first round, or TKO Camacho in the first round. So wrestling was never a factor in that fight, but I know Camacho's wrestling defense is very solid. But looking at, Looking at Gavin Tucker, his wrestling defense isn't great at all. Basically judging by stats and basically judging by what we've seen, it's not the greatest at all. He got decent grappling, but when I look at Justin Jaynes, he's not a power puncher. He got some slick striking, he got some decent jiu-jitsu, but you're going against a relentless finishing, heavy-handed, relentless wrestler that's been picking up and double legging and body slamming middleweights and stuff. And pretty much everybody, like once he take you down, he's hard to get off you. He's heavy on top, and he's gonna be a problem. So I see a guy that don't have the best takedown defense versus a guy like that. It's not like Justin Jaynes has so much power, or he's so proven. He's not. Who has he beaten? He has beat no one. Literally, he has beat no one. You could say, oh, Sam Cecilia somebody, but really, in a long scheme, no knock on Sam Cecilia, but he really didn't accomplish nothing in his UFC tenure. Hasn't accomplished nothing in Bellator. Solid fighter, but definitely not the most standout fighter either. So I'll say Frank Camacho's a bigger win than any win that what's his name has had. Gavin Tucker has had. Now looking at the reach, I'm about to say another thing. Gavin Tucker has got some short arms, 66. So when I look at Justin Jaynes, look like he got a little mid arm. Gavin Tucker has got shorter arms than him. So, but that's another factor. By the way, I see the good cut and dry to see Gavin Tucker's takedown defense has been a problem, and our lack of takedown defense has been a problem. And Justin Jaynes just being relentless and being on like a blanket, take him down and just destroy him. Like it's like Gavin Tucker. It's like Justin Jaynes has a weak gas tank. He has a very strong gas tank. He has a high level of wrestling, and he's gonna put that pace on you from the start of the round. The first bell to the last bell. And like I said, if you can't address that, that's gonna be a big issue. And I don't feel like you can address it. Stuff like Justin Jaynes is gonna be on him the whole fight, taking him down and controlling him and beating on him and choking on him and squeezing on him to a decision. So in this fight, I got Justin Jaynes via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the middleweight division. Andrew Sanchez versus Wellington Turman. So looking at Andrew Sanchez, he was supposed to be so much better than he's turned out. And I'm not saying like his career is over or I can't turn around right now, but if you had to bet, you definitely not going to bet that he's going to be as good as that he should have been or what he should have, could be. He might turn around and go on a good little streak here and there, but you don't see him as a guy that's going to be in the title picture. You don't see him as a guy that's definitely not going to hold no belt or definitely not going to be talked about with no belt. You kind of see him as a guy that's kind of going at best fall to middle of the pack and might get some wins over some future people that go on to do something great, but he himself, you don't really see him doing nothing else that great outside of maybe sticking around a couple more years or maybe 4 or 5 years max, probably less than that. But that, he felt like when he first came on an Ultimate Fighter was winning. You saw a fighter with good wrestling. You saw a fighter with high level jiu-jitsu. You saw decent striking that could be worked on. I'm not saying he had world-class striking necessarily when he was on Ultimate Fighter and such, but I saw he had decent enough striking, decent enough understanding of striking that's something he could have built on. And over the years, his striking only got better and kind of get in line with where his jiu-jitsu and his grappling is. You thought his cardio pace would have worked on that, and he'd been a relentless wrestling cardio person like that. But then you kind of saw his cardio fade, see him take some losses he shouldn't have taken. But yeah, definitely fell short of where he's supposed to be at. Now Wellington Turman on the side, now he's the new guy coming up. He's very young. I think 24, 25. Got Definitely working on striking getting better. Guys, and he got kind of same thing. Like I think Sanchez is definitely the better wrestler, but Turman's the better jiu-jitsu player. Turman's fresher. I think he's a little bit more sound on the striking aspect than Sanchez, especially defensively. Sanchez, especially when he gets tired, and in general, he kind of holds his chin up a little bit high, hands kind of low. So what I really see in this fight, I just see it's a fight where you're going against a younger fighter. Y'all both kind of have, it's like another fight where it's similar skill set, like kind of like with Vettori in the Vettori fight. Similar skill set, but Vettori is the better striker, probably the better grappler as well, better cardio, better striking offense and defense. So he won that fight. I want to Thurman, I think a little bit closer, like they kind of have similar skill set. I don't really think, like I said, Sanchez is the better wrestler, but I don't think he's going to be able to use that to his advantage too much, like taking Turman down or controlling who goes to the ground too much. I think they really at most going to be even in the grappling aspects. But like I said, I think it'll come down to the striking again. And I feel like Turman is just more together with his striking, especially defensively, whereas Sanchez has a lot of holes and gets kind of lax out there, and Thurman doesn't. And I think he can push the pace much longer, and that's what's going to edge it for him. Cleaner technique, and can push that pace longer, and a little bit more active, a little bit more aggressive, and that's going to win him the decision in a very close fight. So in this fight, I got Wellington Thurman via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in our co-prelim headliner in the lightweight division, Nasrat Haqparast versus Alexander Munoz. So look at this fight right here. Alexander Munoz, let me just talk about him first. So I forgot completely who this guy was. Because like I remember watching him like a couple years ago, or maybe even a year. I don't know how long. Like I just forgot everything about this guy. I remember that. I really just remember Nick Newell coming on the contender series and losing to a guy that just didn't even allow him to really fight. Just took him down to every chance he get, held him down, and he really didn't do much to him on the ground. Like didn't really see no real aggression to finish the fight. Didn't really see no vicious ground and pound. Just really just took him down and just rode his way to the decision. That's really what I saw, and that's really what I remember in that fight. I don't remember the guy's name. I mean, obviously Alexander Munoz. Now I'm looking at it, but I clearly forgot what this guy looked like. Completely forgot about his name, forgot about his post-fight speech. Like he left no memorable impression. All he did was just beat Nick Newell. That's what he did. So you remember Nick Newell, the guy with one arm. He's done some stuff out there, but yeah. But you didn't. Alexander Munoz really literally nothing to remember him about until you see him come up again and you look up and was that the guy who beat Nick Newell? That's what I'm trying to say. By the way, when I see Alexander Munoz, basically at his highlights and look at some of his fights, decent striking. Like I always say, I'm not like that. I don't really tell you much, but decent striking. Phenomenal wrestling game, or not phenomenal, and some solid wrestling game. It's definitely not phenomenal. It's not quite phenomenal yet, because if it was that phenomenal, he would have finished Nick Newell. But respectable, solid wrestling game. Good team behind him with Alpha Male. But what I see against Haqparast, let me say what concerns me about Haqparast is that he gave up like 3 takedowns to the Nick Held or something Held. Marcin Held, I almost said Nick Held, but Marcin Held. And he going against a wrestler, so I'm kind of worried about his takedown defense. But that was like 3 years ago, and I'm pretty sure Haqparast worked on that. And I think, Marcin Held was a much better grappler than Munoz. Definitely not a much better wrestler, but I worry about the takedown defense of Haqparast. But I think over the years he's improved that. I would hope so, and that's a worry. But on the feet, I think Munoz, like I said, he got decent striking. I think Haqparast has 4 better strikers, beating a better striker, much sharper, much faster, much better footwork, much better power pounding shots, and he changes combinations together, and he shoots people up. So I think on the feet, Haqparast should have no worries with Munoz, but I worry about his takedown defense, and that's the X factor. Like, how has he evolved his takedown defense and grappling since that Marcin Held fight? And I'm, like I said, I'm doing a lot of what if, because it's not really taped to really prove that, because since that fight, he hasn't really fought somebody that tried to wrestle him. And he is coming off a knock, so you got to worry about his confidence. But how I see this fight is, Munoz only like 6-0, hasn't really fought anybody. And when he fought his biggest chance to really spotlight something. Like, matter of fact, he really shouldn't be the UFC. Or you could add that born of a performance. You should not be in the UFC. Like, all these other fighters have much better performances, and they get developmental contracts, or they come back again. They had to fight like 3-4 times, and all their fights look better than that fight he did against Nick Newell. So I don't think he should be in the UFC right now. But definitely got a skill set that you always got to respect. Like a top-notch wrestler with with decent enough striking, you always got to respect that. But how I see is that Haqparast should be able to defend their takedowns and the grappling. Still going to be an issue, but I feel on the feet, Haqparast really going to separate himself from Munoz and really be tagging him up on the feet. But it's probably one of the real close fights that was going to go down. Going to be a teeth-biting fight or nail-biting fight where Haqparast getting taken down. You're trying to work back his feet, land effective strikes on the feet. It's going to be kind of come down to a fight like, who do you favor more? The takedown Munoz with control time but not really much damage, or the effective damage of Haqparast on the feet? And he probably has some good minutes on the feet. It's probably some times where he's on the ground too much, but one of those close, ugly fights that you don't really want to see, especially if you're betting. But a fight that Haqparast is going to be the edge. Like I said, he's got the experience, he got the striking, and he's going to be the one doing damage. I don't really see Munoz doing any effective damage or any, like, getting submissions or really even threatening with anything like that. More so just trying to get some points and like kind of coast, like, just trying to point fight with takedowns and grappling to decision. And whereas Haqparast is really going to be out there trying to fight and finish fights. So in this fight, I got Nasrat Haqparast via decision. Now to our prelim headliner, not main event, our prelim headliner we have in the welterweight division, Tim Means versus Laureano Staropoli. And look at Staropoli, very aggressive, very active, very dangerous. Tim Means, very sharp, a sharpshooter, very dangerous, very deadly. But what this fight comes down to is how what was called. They can both give it, but can they both take it? And then to answer that question, Staropoli can take it, but Tim Means really can't. Like Tim Means, when he's on offense and dealing out damage, he's one of the most dangerous, most scary guys out there. But when somebody's putting him on, pushing him back, or when somebody's landing on him, he turns into like a wet noodle, literally. Like Nico Price caught him, leg folded, snapped his ankle. I think he was fighting Matt Brown some years ago, and then Matt Brown really started going to his body, started attacking him, folded like a blanket. Like offensively, when he's attacking, he's one of the scariest dudes in the game, regardless of weight class. But when stuff starts coming back at him, he quickly folds. And it was another fight he fought. This other fight that's coming up, I can't remember his name right now. I'm not even gonna try. But like a Spanish dude that's like on 2-fight winning streak right now in the UFC. Yeah, in the first round he was chewing him up. Matter of fact, he still got caught. He got caught in that first round, and he was looking like he was leagues above the dude, getting tearing him up. First time dude countered him, then all of a sudden his whole skill, he went from looking like a world beater to looking like a regional sweep under the rug type fighter after that point. But yeah, so I kind of worry about it. I feel like Staropoli definitely can take it more than Means could do. I definitely think he definitely will push the pace much more than Means. I think Means is a more technical fighter, but I feel like Staropoli, the moment he starts landing on Means, start pushing Means back, I feel like when he's gonna start to fold. Like I think at first he could probably outstrike him, or if a fight where it's more technical, Means wins all day. But when Staropoli starts to tag him or start really making this a fight, I feel like Means is gonna start to fold. And his pace is gonna really pick up, and Means is not gonna be able to get back in the fight. And Staropoli from that point gonna be able to do whatever he kind of wants. He's gonna be able to duck and get some takedowns on Means, duck under, then come over to overhands, come with kicks to the body, and start being creative and start getting active on Means out there. So like I said, Means early might have some success, but his fight goes on and really start to get tagged in this fight. Like I said, I think he'll start to fold. Their skills gonna start to drop. Like he go like time you get hit like little. Everybody got a game plan, or everybody's technical. They get punched in the face, or whatever you want to say it, whatever little different alternative way of saying it is. I feel like Staropoli wants to start really tagging on Means. He's gonna start to fade, and then Staropoli's gonna run away with this one. I think he stops him late in third. I mean, not late in third round, but I think he stops him in the third round. Once he starts to wearing on him, and then his pace is going to be too much, and his Means wilting, and that pace comes up, he's not going to really have no answer, and then the rest going to have to stop the fight. So in this fight, I got Laureano Staropoli via third round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the prelims of UFC Fight Night 174, Lewis versus Oleinik. And as always, thanks for watching.